Today on Get Paid, we got Ethan Deng, CEO and founder of TextQL. I invited him to the show for dropping viral posts and calling out SaaS companies for just slapping AI stickers on 2019 software. Now, his posts on negative margin death spirals are required reading for anyone trying to understand where the industry is actually going. He sees Claude Code as an existential threat to every AI startup out there, and he thinks OpenAI pricing isn't generosity, it's warfare, baby. He's also about to tell you why half the AI companies that raised in 2023 won't exist in 2025. Ethan, let's get paid. Ethan, it's so good to have you. We've been reading your notes, your dispatches here at Paid for a long time. We're inspired by it. Your angry style of writing just makes me feel like I'm weak and I should work on it. And now that I learned that you're in a writing group, I feel even weaker and I feel like I'm not doing my listeners a service by sucking at it. That's something that I should actually put some effort. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, appreciate. Thanks for inviting me. I can invite you to the writing group. You just have to like post every 2 weeks.
There you go. All right, I'm in. I'm in. Put me in, coach. I'm gonna start flexing, and I'm gonna. It's not gonna be as easy coming as it is for you, but I just gotta make it up with time and sweat and tears and blood. Let's talk about the order of your writing. So you wrote some seminal pieces around the margin calls on windsurf and how the whole thing was sold for parts. You're talking about the unsustainability of the arbitrage between user acquisition and the cost of tokens. You talk about leverage beta. So let's give me an arc by which we can have this conversation from the beginning of the thoughts to where we are right now, so that we can frame this for our listeners in a good way.
Sure. Um, I I started an AI company. We do a bunch of AI stuff, just terrible AI stuff. And I think like what we do is like pretty technically deep. So it's like a lot of the time we analyze a lot of systems and we try to like remove redundancies where like we have to have like a really strong competitive advantage on every single dimension. We have to have a strong value articulation that is like consistent with the underlying technology. And then I think a lot of startups like do this where you look around and you see these like funding rounds getting put together on basically like very like marketing intensive like things that where the technology is actually not that hard.
Yeah.
And it's a I think it's like a very frustrating feeling that a lot of people were like very surprised by because a lot of these things were like white labeled versions of ChatGPT. And so I've been playing around with, I personally like use Lovable, Bolt, Replit, all of those platforms like a lot. I was like fairly familiar with the Replit platform before like the vibe coding like era. And so I had some sense of like, oh, I kind of understand the mechanic why like Lovable seems to do so well. Right. Even though like Replit has a much more built out like environment. And so I think it was like I was frustrated by it. I wanted to like note down like what was going on. I think I knew someone on my team. We hired someone from Icon, which is the ad making company. So I had like some understanding of like the behind the scenes strategy that they had like rolled, as well as some understanding of the churn that they had. And then I think I came across like I think I spoke to Roy briefly. And so I got some sense of like he's actually a very calibrated and like intelligent human being. He's not like a crazy like Twitter like wonder kid or something. So that perspective was something I think like the entire like world was probably missing. And like
Mm.
it's a different kind of like a different game. So yeah, I guess it kind of struck a nerve because I managed to, I sent it out. I wrote it and then I wasn't going to send it. Then it happened to be the case that the next week was the Andreessen like round. And so I was like, okay, well, just hit the send button and it hit a nerve ish.
No, I totally hit a nerve. So you even called the lovable team inferior compared to Replits. Like where did that come from? Or it was just like part of the lyrical carried away in the prose
Um, no, I
as
used
we
the
get.
lovable product. It was something that felt like it was. I don't think the front end was very optimized. There was a lot of like transitions that you could tell. Like, it was like a team that like was kind of doing an MVP to get it together. At the time, what I did know is that like all the reading that I had like read about Lovable, there was a blog post that someone on the growth team did was like, oh, they figured out this way to like get a bunch of like TikTok influencers to like blow up like the presence, right? And it got a ton of like subscribers. I'm very familiar with the Replit team on the other hand, where they have people on their team who can train and fine tune like edge foundation models, right? They have people on their team who can like build like incredibly sophisticated container services from scratch. I think Lovable white labels a lot of like uses like E2B and Edify to deploy and like Neon or like Supabase or something as their backend database. I think Replit rolls all of that in house. Replit has one of the truly is like one of the world's like best engineering teams, like maybe in North America, like probably like definitely top 50, maybe like top 20 in terms of like density. Um,
Yep.
and and like Lovable is like a much more like normal like product. It's not a bad product, but like their edge so far seems to have been like very heavily oriented around go to market, and like really good marketing and really good like partnership motions, um, from what I can tell.
Interesting. And what does that say about the longevity of their edge? What does it say about the sustainability of their application, the ability to put a dent in the universe? Is that an indictment or is just an observation? Where are you landing on that?
I guess like my thinking might have evolved a little bit since then. Like it seems like I have something else probably coming up about like how companies can position to like find something that's recurring. I think Lovable recently announced that they were like rolling out across all of like Cognizant. Cognizant's like one of the world's largest systems integrators. If they can entrench themselves as the platform of choice for some series of like SIs to then like drive like adoption across like all the customers that like the SI like drives through. Like these are very long procurement cycles, right? These are like $10 million digital transformation initiatives or AI transformations initiatives, where good enough for like a C-suite person might like give you like 5 years of recurring revenue that you can use to build like some other kind of like foundational base on. And so if they're able to like execute on this playbook incredibly well, like that seems to be a really good path to getting like pretty good margins overall.
But nothing prevents anybody else from executing on this playbook. Like everybody else can call Cognizant and do the same deal, right? Like that, there's not nothing specific about it.
Doing those deals is a function of like the stars aligning and you happening to get into the room with like the five guys, maybe two guys that matter at these companies, and then getting them to like sponsor you on a relationship. These are deals that are forged on the golf course. The margin profile like really doesn't matter, because like you're choosing a side, right? I think most of the systems integrators, like they either specialize in NetSuite or they specialize in SAP S/4HANA in terms of the ERP, and like they choose one or the other as a core competency, and they
Yeah.
align very heavily. Like it's a war where you do want to like pick sides, and so as a result, you're happy to like give your side like more margin as a profile instead of like creating this competitive thing because you also need to collectively position against other systems integrators. It creates these like weird dynamics that you can dig into.
Well, you wrote about this. Like you talked about how you didn't know where the whole deal between Windsurf, Google, and then Cognition was gonna go, and then you talked about the fact that Devin got deployed on a deal in Goldman Sachs, right? And that deal was probably several years in the making, took a lot of procurement cycles, but once you're in, even if your product sucks.
Yeah.
So is that a strategy then, like for those who are listening to us, like build a product that is good enough to pass procurement and drive the shit out of it in largest enterprises and just call it done?
Yeah, there's like levered beta is really another way of saying like distribution, right? Some form of like highly differentiated distribution. And that could either be like going more viral than anyone else, in terms of like consumer attention or prosumer attention, or that could be like very very deep relationships at the golf course, right? Where like you run into like David Solomon or Jamie Dimon, and you convince them
I
to like
I don't
jump through
think
all
you
the
run
hoops.
into David Sullivan or Jamie Dimon. I think that you have to work your way up to it. Like, I mean, like, I
Oh,
think those
sure,
are
sure. It's like yeah. You need the connections and the connections and the connections to get to the right places.
yeah. But I thought that leverage beta was a little bit different, and a leverage beta is like you find a high beta asset, in this case, GPT, you jump on top of it and you find a way to like juice it up even more, right? Like
Right.
your example that you gave in Harvey was brilliant, right? Like you don't just sell it to lawyers. So you gave it a lawyerly look. You put a bunch of suits to go and do it. You go and hire people from the industry to go and resell this shit. Like that's lever beta, right? Where you take something that it could be copied by anybody else, but you create, I guess, a distribution veneer around it that gives you the edge.
Yeah, I think Harvey had like a moment where they signed. It was probably like one really key decision maker that was like behind this deal. But when they signed like PwC, is my understanding, like they had a huge surge in their level of validation, right? All the other big four had like big four accounting firms had like huge amounts of like lawyer work that they wanted to like sign up for. And then the king was crowned, right? OpenAI backs them like on all the media stuff, and like all of that is like that's the leverage, right? That's the leverage on top of the jet the ChatGPT wrapper, which I guess people could refer to it as that. But
Yeah.
yeah, the veneer and everything.
So what do you make of the strategy of the other players that are trying to get into the game by creating their own models like Ryder or Jasper or like all these other guys who began as rappers and now they're trying to like have their own edge?
I haven't seen anything from Jasper, which I guess, like, in my mind, I assume they're kinda, like, in a pretty bad spot. I don't know enough about Writer. My impression so far with a couple enterprises, like procurement teams that I've spoken to is that, Writer was perceived as ChatGPT, but slightly more compliant. And so it was kind of like Harvey, but, like, more general, and then they, like, focused on the security aspects a little bit more. So you were to get it in, and as long as you were to clear the bar, if you were the first AI product a particular enterprise adopted, they were pretty happy about that as an idea. That said, I don't really know what kind of workflows live on top of Writer. It's possible that I would have to look at do companies that buy Writer still buy ChatGPT? Do they still buy Claude? Is there like a competitive dynamic on the rollout? And if they do, I'd say it's probably not going to look very good for them because they don't have, from what I gather, they don't have they don't have a huge like vertical specialization or um, niche that they can grow and triple down on. That said, I mean, it'll be a long time before anyone ever churns from Writer. Because it's a very, very good piece of software to sell, right? It's highly compliant, goes through the things. So for all the customers that buy it, it's not like you're going to go to Wall Street next quarter and be like, oh, this product is useless. Nobody on our team used it. So therefore we're churning it. So that's like 50% of our AI initiatives, down the drain. You never want to admit that your AI initiatives have failed.
So let me give you the other side of that. What if everybody's buying one of each? Because that's what I'm seeing right now. Like the reason everybody's growing is because everybody's growing. It's because everybody's buying one of each. Like boards are coming in and being like, you know what? I need you to go and fucking spend as much money as you can, as fast as you can, buy one of each. I don't care. We'll sort it out later. So what if we're there and there will be a reckoning? It's just not to be seen. Like who gets reckoned?
Yeah, I have no idea what the turnaround time on the reckoning looks like. I think I've heard a couple public companies, their procurement teams have said we bought 500 pieces of AI software in the past year. We have a total ban on new vendors whatsoever. We have to cut at least 250 of it before we even have conversations ever again. I sounds like there are some companies that just if you were a company last year or 2 years ago that had a very, very open AI policy, you're probably drowning in vendors right now because
Yeah.
every single vendor is probably willing to pay a bribe or something to get the procurement teams to bring it in. Yeah.
Damn. Damn. All right. All right. So let's go. Let's pick on this for a minute. So what drove you? What was the instinct that drove you to see the token discrepancy? It wasn't windsurf, right? Like it was something because you wrote it before it happened. Like you actually was one of the few who were blowing the horn like that this whole thing is a is a is a game of shell and that
Um,
this is not gonna stand.
I I don't know if it's a shell. I just kind of vaguely understand
So what clicked in your head that the math wasn't mathing? Like something clicked in your head. Like what when walk us through what happened. Like how did that work out?
so we build an agent that is effectively a deep research agent on our site internally.
Yeah.
So our company is like we have to look at runs that every single time you send a message, we'll run for 20 minutes and burn $1 to $5 of tokens. And we can obviously I want my company to compound exponentially. And there are certain business models that let you compound exponentially with very high net retention, things like Snowflake. And the way you do that is by setting recurring jobs on a weekly or daily basis, where if a customer sets a particular workflow to run on a recurring basis, and it runs for a very long time, now that's basically recurring revenue. It's a mini increments of recurring revenue that compounds, right? So every day that user logs in for an hour and uses the product for an hour, that's actually it's not like you just got value for that hour. You get recurring value for that hour, and then every subsequent hour compounds on top of that. So that's something that I think about a lot about in the context of our business model,
Yeah.
because we are usage based, and so we pass the cost down, and that's really good for us. And hopefully this pays off. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I saw your pricing page. It's very straightforward. Like how many agentic usage pieces you get, and that's how much you pay for, right?
yeah, the second order effect of what I like to look at when I forecast out our usage and our growth over time is it will grow like this because of the nature of the compounding aspects.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing that Like, and like, so I'm super, 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 super tapped into like, what are the things that I could use? What are the trends that I could use to drive up usage? Deep research, obviously, immediately 20x's the amount of usage per interaction, or like, 100x's the amount of usage per interaction in terms of tokens. Um, Recurring runs or event-driven runs, right? Like this metric goes down. Tell me why. Again, like it's another like fucking, I don't know, like 1000x on like the amount of usage compared to a single user logging in and like typing something. Sub agents. Agent creates sub agents, four or five that goes off in a branch. That's a one that's a 10x on top of the original like 1000x. And so like I think about this stuff a lot, and that's really good for us because we're usage based. When something like Windsurf, when I see like Windsurf like launch something like Cascade, which is like basically the sub agents concept, when like Claude Code is when Claude Code like introduces the sub agents into their own loop, and then they immediately have to roll back the thing. It's just like it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess like if you're not passing on the tokens, that's really 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 bad for you. And so the flat business model we've explored a lot, and we just kind of know why it's really bad, because we tried to make the math work and we can't make it work.
But you said that it was better for the consumer. People just like paying flat and unlimited subscriptions. So like how and then you compared, Quad's code pricing versus Cursor or Windsurf in this case, and it was 10x higher, right? Like in terms of like for the same unit of like, purchase. And you still couldn't find a way to make it work on a flat
Yeah.
basis or even on a run basis.
Yeah, I think I don't know what the prosumer market is going to look like going forward. Because consumers just don't pay metered things. And like there's like no, it feels like there's no way through it. That's why like we just run away. We run to the enterprise where enterprises are not sensitive to any of this. Right? Because like enterprises generally like care a lot less about like the like or they like usage based,
Yeah.
because seats in a lot of ways like kind of like fleeces them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the prosumer market seems super, super like hard to like survive in.
So how are you incentivizing this consumption types? Like, do you have a playbook for like each of these things, like agents that call agents or like deep research or whatever, so that you get the user to do one a few of these, and then they get going, they get addicted to it, and they do more of it, or you just let it, it's the luck of the draw, and whatever happens happens.
Like internally, like inside the company.
Correct, in your customer base, because you're benefiting from this trend, right? Like this is
Yeah. We tie ourselves to like human workloads. So
yeah,
like you might hire like a person, like, you might pay them like 250 grand. Like if you're a
yeah,
real estate company, you might pay them a data scientist 250 grand to like do some analysis once a month, right, per state. And so
hmm
you do it for Texas, you do it for like North Carolina or something. And you hire four data scientists for like, odds about $1 million a year to do this, for all like 50 states. That's a really, really, really big cost basis. And so when we set up, we do a little bit of configuration to make it so that like, oh, we're taking your people that you already have and we're replicating their work, and making it like the unit cost like much lower, right? Because $250,000 salary, that's a lot to that's a lot to like, be able to like find budget in, because we're bringing a lot of like returns there that like the business gets to pocket. And so now we get to, run that for like per zip code so we basically set up a for loop, and then we like run through all the permutations of analysis that you wish you could do, but you couldn't afford to today.
interesting. Why wouldn't you charge for the human equivalent of doing the same work, and then categorize that as like, this would have taken 10 people 2 days. It would have cost you this much.
Because the next year, the pricing doesn't really make sense anymore. It cost savings driven like pricing models, generally structure like I saved you this much, so I'm gonna take this much, but the next year when it renews, well, like it's not like the next year I've saved you this much again, right? It's not like the account, like the amount that you would have spent. Like you produce the value in year one, but now you want to
Yeah.
capture recurring value as like a business model,
Well, wouldn't the
and that
test be if you didn't exist, you would have to hire a human to do it, or you would have to hire a competitor to do it? So, like, is the bounding of price is your competitor is in the human now?
yeah, but the competitor is just gonna like match our price. And now like, and now it's just like us versus competitors, like race to the bottom in terms of like the business model, right? Especially if like you're already not like bringing on the human. I also think that it doesn't generally capture what happens to labor. Like
Yeah,
if
but
I'm an oil,
pause that for a minute, because when you say the competitor is going to race to the bottom, like you guys are both using the same models. So
yes,
like, so race to the bottom of what? like zero margin against your LLM in the back. Like you both have headcount costs and other things, and you both have VC money going to run out of. So
Yeah.
there's no race to the bottom. There will be a sustaining amount by which you won't go below, theoretically.
Yes. And if it were the case that, so if we were doing accounting or something, right, where accounting, like there's a certain amount of like filings, forms you have to fill out, and you have to use an AI agent to like fill out that number of forms. And once you fill out that number of forms, that'd be a great business model for us to go after, because it's like a fixed. There's a ceiling on demand for like amount of tokens that any business needs to consume per year.
Yeah.
The nice thing about data science is that there's kind of an infinite demand for data science. If I like because it's an arms race, it's a type of workload that has an arms race dynamic, right? Like salespeople will never, the benchmark for a sales agent is not going to be better than the next human. It's going to be better than the other company's sales agent, which means like every single time you have to like progressively always use the best agent. The thing with data science, if you look at high frequency trading firms where they're always looking for like less and less and less and less time, right? With like nanosecond latency, because like the next firm can like, make their headquarters next to the like stock exchange with like less latency. Um, if like let's say like a Blackstone type company can like analyze housing prices per like city per week, right? Then like a Cerberus, another PE firm will want to analyze housing prices per zip code per day. And then Blackstone's going to want to, do it at a finer grain and analyze it per, I don't know, single family unit size square footage per hour or something. And like, so the frequency of like, and volume of data science, like demand goes up like kind of exponentially as you bring down the cost. And if we can capture more of that like value on that curve, obviously we want a price to be able to capture that value. By reducing like unit costs, and then like, making money on the volume.
But don't you think the fact that you are able to do that analysis faster alone drives value? Why do you have to bring down the price? Like the fact that you're able to put that out, it's already pretty fucking valuable, right? Because like, you just allowed somebody to make a trade faster than the next person. So why do you have to bring that? Like, how does cost play into this?
Well, if you look at the trading firms, if you give them the ability to make a trade faster than the next person, what they end up doing is they don't end up making the same amount of trades, right? Because like because you can find like even more alpha at finer and finer grains along the curve, and you, you can make trades 10 times faster, let's say. Now you're going to make 100 times more trades,
Yeah,
because because you can like make trades that previously you couldn't afford to like spend time like making. Um,
a
and
hundred
if you could
percent.
put a tax on the volume there, you have a much higher like amount of value capture than the original thing. Because the original thing, like, I mean, like, previously they
Uh,
were paying for one trade. Like they're going to want to pay you the same price per trade. Like people are, there's like weird lock dynamic.
but you're not trading; you're providing information. Why would you say make your information cheaper when you're actually delivering more alpha? It doesn't make any sense.
I guess it's like it's the Jeff Bezos like policy of like you wanna your margin is like my opportunity.
Dude, Jeff Bezos run a bodega. You're not running a bodega. You're running information for alpha. Like it has nothing to do with the other thing.
AWS
Yeah.
is like $1 trillion company on its own if you like pulled it out of Amazon. And like AWS is able to like get the give people some of the best prices for EC2 and for S3, right, compute and storage, because they do so much volume. And they sacrificed a lot of margins early on to be able to get as much volume as they have. And for what it's worth, I don't want to build like a $10 billion business. That seems incredibly boring to me. Right. Like I think the only interesting thing to do is like to try to build like $1 trillion or like a $10 trillion thing that can like unseat like a cloud provider. That seems to be one of the only markets that you can like actually challenge. And so like if we want to get to that, like profits are, I mean, at any given price point, you could charge a certain amount and make profit, or you could charge a lower amount and have more demand and faster growth. And so if I can trade if I can trade 1% of profit margin for 2% of growth or 1% of growth, really, I think like the right now like the market rewards that a lot more, because it lets us get enough volume that we can offer our customers a better price, even at the same demand, because we have more scale. And so, and if we have more scale, we can always hire the best database engineers, and we can always optimize like our infrastructure to be like slightly better than like our competitors, and ultimately give a better price at the same volume, like at every single like point in the curve. That's the dream position to be in, right? Where you have like so much volume that you can do optimizations no one else can even touch, and that those optimizations let you win, like I guess bigly.
So let's. I love that you use Bigly. See, this your writing style comes out even when you're talking. This is amazing. All right, so let's go back to your to the code, the cursor, Replit, Windsurf, Gemini, and everybody get into the game. Like, how is this game scaling? So, like, let's apply your efficient market theory to the whole thing. Like, who is winning? Who's losing? You know, why are the dynamics the way they are? I actually love the but you educated me on this, and I didn't know that Replit was vertically integrated. And for them, the tokens is just a fucking like, it's a marketing cost because they will sell you a storage and CI/CD and compute and a bunch of other like database and whatever. But like, how is the game gonna be? People will play a different game, or the game is gonna be? I'm just gonna go after each other and see who can build a better wrapper over these things.
Um, for what it's worth, I think like, Amjad reached out to me and said like I think I was like a little bit off on like their actual like overall global strategy. But I own a conversation, so I'm not like I guess I'm not certain that they're like loss leading with tokens. I don't know if there's like a second order effect that I'm missing. So I might like revisit that later. But the gist of it right now,
When you
in
find
terms of
out
like
new things, you update your release.
yeah,
It's all good.
the gist of the so it feels like there's been some kind of divergence. There's only like one company that I feel like is like headed to be a clear loser. And then we'll see kind of like where the rest of them play out. I think Claude Code represents like Anthropic's like foray into the like application layer like deeply. And like the demand for that, especially when like OpenAI is trying to undercut them and like go after like Claude's like coding customers, is Claude Code is a very scary thing, just overall. So like there's just like this like generally horrifying like presence. I think for all of the players involved. I think including for us. If I'm being super honest, I think our existential risk on our side is not Databricks or Snowflake. It's actually Claude Code being able to spin up AWS. Like if Claude Code could interact with the AWS CLI, I'm very, very scared for like the potential for any coding startups to have any like space to breathe whatsoever. But we try to move as fast as we can and try to get around that. The
But let's go back
so
to your original. So who is the first loser? Who dies first?
uh
Let's call it.
I think Bolt's in a really bad spot.
All
I,
right.
I
So
like
you heard it here first, folks. Bolt is in a really bad spot.
I like they've been running that hackathon for a very long period of time. I don't think they've like gone up market to try to get into like large enterprise accounts. I think they're trying to go after like the Webflow world a little bit more, right? Which is like more like landing page SEO optimization. There might be a market there, but your ability to charge recurring revenue on that market might go down by a lot because like the barrier to like setting up a website is like now so low. We'll kind of have to see. Like for example, like I'm sure there's a large amount of like Webflow, the TAM of like a Webflow type company is getting like kind of destroyed. Right? Like companies like Shopify are going to be able to like spin up their own like no code builders like much more easily. Right? Like Retool, like all of these companies are like moving into that space. And so when the TAM is getting destroyed, like Bolt's like walking into like a much more I guess like price sensitive like space.
Hmm.
I think like Lovable is probably the next. They're not as differentiated, but they're trying to move into like establishing some enterprise alliances. Those might end up being like highly promising distribution channels. We'll kind of see like the presence of like Harvey's entire business was kind of like springboarded by like PwC. Cognizant is a massive organization, right? They totally have the potential to like do the same for Lovable. And they might get into a position where they can then do CI/CD, all like the stuff that Replit is doing, but inside for the SN or like the mid-sized enterprise type company that like Cognizant typically sells to.
So you don't see Replit or Cursor putting a cute little interface with like a thoughts and prayers vibe coding app, and then boom, you can just ship it and make it cute and lovable.
I think that Cursor is like there are UIs designed for developers, and then there are UIs that like there are UIs that try to give you more transparency. There are UIs that try to give you as little transparency as you can and like abstract it as much as possible. Lovable's probably going to continue adding more and more features to try to like reduce the amount of code that the user has to see and understand. Replit's probably going to do the same thing. I don't think Cursor is going to do the same thing. I think like the Cursor, um, like they are overwhelmingly like used by like true engineers. I think they might get deeper into the CLI world where they're competing with Claude Code.
Mm.
And it seems like Yeah, it just like 90% of Replit target TAM, for example, as they like move into the more like consumery type people, it seems to be that Replit wants to like create something like Google Docs for like coding environments, which is like super accessible to the human being. Whereas like 90% of those people that they're targeting will never want to look at a terminal ever. They just like don't want like they don't want to see the monospace. They don't want to see the blinking cursor. They don't want to see like a black like screen with just text like coming out the other side. Like my mom, if I Claude Code is fairly easy for me to use, even though like I don't do a lot of terminal stuff. If I tried to get my mom to use Claude Code, I think she would kill herself. Like there's like zero chance she would ever try that UI.
That's amazing. So this is a UI differentiation in your mind. This is not. There's
Yeah,
nothing
I
else
think
to it.
like the long tail of your like features will either try to hide the code or don't. And if you try to hide the code, you're just in a different. You're in like a totally different universe.
Yeah. So you don't see an option button in the cursor screen that says "make it lovable," and boom, everything changes, and you like fucking like rainbows and shit, and like no blinking light, no black screen, and just a type your text and see a screen pop up that looks beautiful.
If I'm the Cursor founder, like I have a very tight core engineering team. They're like incredibly elite engineers. I can incrementally spend that time like on a lovable competitor, which is potentially an even less differentiated market than Cursor is. Or I can spend that time like trying to train a model and like potentially get off our dependency of like OpenAI or like Claude. I think like Cursor is trying to become an AGI lab, right, for just coding. And they have a lot of data. Maybe they can do it. It'd be kind of interesting to see them try. But like, I think they have a much higher level of promise, doubling down on their existing revenue line because they're growing
Mm.
like I think they're still growing like 50% like month over month or something.
So why they haven't done it already? I mean, this strategy was clear even a year ago. Why haven't they tried?
It's really hard. It's like very hard to like train a model that can like
But you know what's
get you off the
harder?
core models.
Being dead when Claude
True.
just cuts you off. So why haven't they tried?
I'm guessing they have been trying. Like, right? You can't. We're not gonna if they tried like 10 times to like train a model and like the models like are never very good. They're never gonna announce that, right? They're gonna be waiting until they can like
Oh,
actually
I
figure out
see.
how to like
That's a
train
good
it.
point. That's a good
But I
point.
have like no idea.
That's a good point.
Is-
Yeah, because only good
yeah,
news get announced, right? Like only like look at me doing the thing, as opposed to like look at me I tried and I fucking failed.
right.
So what's the point of okay? So you wrote this piece. I actually don't agree with it, but I want you to explain to everybody like why what's OpenAI up to by dropping the price so much on GPT-5?
I think that there's something about there's something at a meta level about like how like the GPUs required to train something that's actually like as many orders of magnitude larger than GPT-4 is as GPT-4 is to GPT-3. I think would be like either 2 or 20%. I forgot what it was. 2 or 20% of like all global electricity supplied, which is like that. Obviously, that doesn't exist. So like the infrastructure to like build like like five, like I don't know if that exists like on the planet today. And so they were like, but like we need to get the release like Anthropic ostensibly released the same size model in 4 as in 3. And so they were like, okay, well, we got to release a 5. And so I think they like fine tuned a thing. They made it really cheap. They wanted to like make a splash. Like every single one of the like launch partners seem to be a coding agent. And so like, it really seems like they're going after Anthropic and they're trying to like remove their coding monopoly. But they're not like they could have charged like $75 per million. Like if they genuinely believed that their agent was as good at Claude as Claude,
Hmm.
in every Claude Opus in every single way, shape, or form. They could have charged $75,000, like $75 per million, the same way that Claude does, and just like held that line and like made massive amounts of profit on that, with all the optimizations they did. But they chose to like price it almost 10x less, which I think is I think they're trying to like make API inference and the bundling of model and inference like unprofitable, so that they can like focus on their consumer thing and like leave the competition kind of like on fire.
Okay, so and make money how?
Make money on ads, right? They got like maybe a billion users or something. I have no idea how many users. But like they have like a lot of eyeballs. They have a lot of people spending a lot of time, like obsessed with their ChatGPT instance.
So how does that work? Like this answer is sponsored by the letter F. Like how does that work? Like how do ads walk into your custom GPT instance where you already anthropomorphize the whole thing and like you're relying on it for everyday advice?
Well, you rely on it for advice, and you go like, "Hey, like, I'm really sad. What do I do?" And then ChatGPT says, oh, well, you should consider talking to a licensed and prestigious therapist, Mr. Frederick Carlson or something. I don't know, like, he sends you a link and a payment link. He's like, "Do you want me to book a meeting for you right now?" And you say like, uh, maybe." And it's like, "Oh, I've used your credit card to, like, pay for this, therapy. By the way, I checked all your insurance policies, and, like, it seems like this is out of network, so it costs you, like, $500. That'll be in your bill." I have no idea. But,
That's
like,
amazing.
the
That's amazing. And wait. You didn't get to the good part where I thought you were going, and actually prescribe you some medication. And by the way, it's already ordered at your local Walmart. It's ready for pickup.
True. I have no idea. I don't know what the frame of like commerce is, but I think like like I think that every single OpenAI and early Anthropic Claude demo towards the public was like, go order me a pizza. I'm guessing like, if you become the UI that people say like, go order me a pizza, like, and then you can choose between routing between like Uber Eats and DoorDash and like whatever. That's a lot of leverage for like DoorDash and like Uber Eats to like pay you a huge amount of money, right? To be their preferred like carrier of choice or something. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But wouldn't the user be aware? Eventually, this gets out. Everybody starts poo pooing on the thing because like your commerce just got into your house and into your way of life. Like, do you think there will be backlash?
I think the users like ads. I think like people are okay with ads. I think that the ads are. I mean, it's like a $350 billion like in profit like business just on the two companies alone. Like every single company that can do ads wants to do ads. Netflix wants to do ads. Right? They want to get out of subscriptions. Like Spotify wants to do ads and get out of subscriptions. Getting into it is very very scary. Right? I think like when Facebook saw a reduction in their ads and then Instagram, like it took them a couple like quarters to figure out Instagram, they saw their like stock price like plummet by like 30% or something. But like ads are a really good business. I think like I don't have a moral like prescription about it, but it seems like people just like being sold to.
I'm all for it. All right. So let's take it to our listeners. So knowing what you know and the success of your company and knowing where the future is going for all agent builders out there, like what is a good way to get a business going that has strong modes that will not be disrupted by these dynamics that you're seeing?
I have pretty bad advice on this dimension. I guess like if I have a very like weird like psychology. Like I'm basically willing to flip. Like I'm kind of like more like SPF. Like I'm pretty happy to like flip the coin with 51% chance, like over and over again, as long as I have high EV. And so I'm only interested in like $1 trillion market opportunities. If you have like if you can find some kind of like niche, I have found that if branding actually matters a lot in the world of AI when like all the products are really similar. Don't over if you so on the techno side, don't over engineer it to make it look like not ChatGPT. Right? Almost every single innovation we have ever tried to do at this company on like UX has been a horrible idea. And so like we always go back to like the base, like you have a chat on the side, you have the workspace on the right, and you like talk to it to like get it to do stuff. So like don't innovate on anything there, just like do the raw thing. Separately, your branding is entirely unrelated to like your product. That's something that it's very painful for like engineers to internalize, but you have to internalize it. You can say we are the AI agent for laundromats. We are the AI agent for construction companies. Period. You just say it over and over again, like, and you show a picture of your agent, personify it, give it a hard hat or something, or like a personify it and give it like a laundromat like outfit. I don't know what a laundromat outfit looks like. And you go really 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 hard on the distribution. And like, what is the actual agent? It's just, I don't know. It's like access to like quarter. It helps you like turn quarters into your bank account or something. And has access to like call a couple like home services people. But like the marketing matters way more right now because like there are
Mm.
people who are scared of who like just don't. The opportunity is in like the people who don't use AI and going to them and saying like I built AI for you, whatever niche weird description that fits your personality is. Um,
But why is that? Is it because you can charge a premium, or because you become unassailable, or because people will come to you because you're the name and it will not go to anybody else? You wrote about this in AI SDR, by the way, which was really fascinating. That you just have to be there first, because the tide that lifts all boats will lift all boats that are in the ocean, not the ones that are in the dock.
I think like there are a lot of. I think people underestimate how many companies or how many people there are, how many buyers there are who, if they use like for lawyers, if you use Harvey, you might never find out what ChatGPT is. I don't think like a lot of people don't. I think like most people know what ChatGPT is, less than 10% of them know what OpenAI is. The penetration of information is very, 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 very weak. And so if you're the first or the second AI product if you're the first AI product that can do something that somebody likes, they might have infinite loyalty to you forever. For like 4 or 5 years, because they just kind of close themselves off to like thinking about other things. I think like Nokia is still not bankrupt, right? And iPhones have been around for God knows how long. Because like I'm sure like somebody like there's some I don't know, I've never met them, but I'm sure
Well, they
there's
make
some
they
humans
make
in the
they
world
make
who love
towers and shit.
Nokia.
And they're in a different business now, but
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are like businesses where like there are like some people whose first touch with a certain type of technology is a certain kind, and that just lock them in to be like loyal customers forever. And that's like a sustainable business model. If you're looking for like a 10, 20, 30, $40 million opportunity or something. But yeah, I'm sick in the head. I just want to. I want to go after AWS. So that's gonna take a long time. I have like weird prescriptions. I don't recommend it for people who just want to retire and like make money.
So nothing. Okay. So, but I still think it's valid. Like, go find the one niche that you can just own, and it's not the model, it's the marketing. I actually kind of like that slogan too. It's not the model, it's the marketing. Cool, man. It's been an amazing conversation. You are as good as your writing is. Keep up the good work. Can't wait for you to drop a couple, hot new things, and we'll get back on this podcast again and talk about, who's gonna win, who's gonna lose. This is pretty great.
Sure. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Manny.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for being here.